Welcome to Lead with Clarity. This is a space for leaders who want to grow without losing themselves in the process. Each episode is a short reflection on leadership, influence, and the inner work that shapes how we show up for others. It's not hype, not noise, just clear thinking for the journey of leading well. Today's episode is entitled Bad News Doesn't Age Well, Colin Powell on the Cost of Delayed Honesty. Here we go. There's a moment that most leaders recognize. You get the information, you know it's not good, and the very first thing that happens isn't a plan, it's a pause. And then the negotiating starts. Not with anyone else, but with yourself. Maybe I wait until I have more clarity. Maybe I find a better time. Maybe I let the situation develop a little further before I say anything. That pause is human. But when it becomes a pattern, it becomes a problem. Colin Powell put it plainly when he said, "Bad news isn't wine. It does not improve with age." Words that should be printed on every executive's conference room wall, not because they're clever, because they're true, and because every leader at some point has acted as if they weren't. Here's what actually happens when bad news gets held. The leader thinks they're managing the situation. What they're actually doing is managing their own discomfort. The news doesn't get better while it waits. The problem doesn't shrink. The team doesn't become more prepared. What grows in that silence is uncertainty. And uncertainty is far more corrosive to a team than bad news delivered with clarity. I've sat across from leaders who were genuinely good people, genuinely gifted communicators, who had nonetheless let a critical piece of information age for weeks before sharing it. Not because they were dishonest, because they cared about their teams, and in caring, they fell into a kind of false protection. They thought they were shielding people. What they were actually doing was keeping the people around them from being able to respond. The misread here is that withholding is kind, that softening bad news means delaying it, that a little more time will produce a better outcome or a better framing. It won't. Delayed disclosure does not improve the message. It just adds a layer of distrust on top of whatever the original problem was. Now you don't just have the bad news, you have the bad news, plus the question of why it took this long to hear it. Speed in this context is not ruthlessness, it's respect. When you tell your team the truth early, you're trusting them with information. You're treating them as capable adults who can handle reality and respond to it. Clarity delivered quickly is an act of confidence in the people around you. The leaders who do this well don't just share bad news fast, they share it with context. They pair the problem with a direction. They acknowledge what they know, what they don't know, and what they're doing about it. That combination, honesty plus direction, is what transforms a hard message into a leadership moment. Think about the last time you received bad news late. What did it cost you? Not just practically. What did it cost you in terms of how you felt about the person who delivered it? Now consider the reverse. Think about a leader who gave you a hard truth early, who didn't wait, who didn't dress it up, didn't let it age. How did that land? There's almost always a difference, and that difference is clarity. The question worth carrying forward is this. Where in your organization right now is bad news sitting with someone, aging, because the culture doesn't make it safe or expected to surface it quickly? That's not a people problem, that's a leadership design problem. Colin Powell led at the highest levels of military and governmental authority. He understood that people follow leaders they trust. And trust is built not in the good moments, but in the hard ones. In the moments when a leader could have waited, could have softened, could have protected themselves, and chose instead to be direct. Bad news does not improve with age, but leaders do. Every time you choose to deliver a hard truth with speed and care, you're building the kind of credibility that doesn't fade, the kind that holds when things get harder. That is the work.